Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very different kind of video. Today I want to try and ask and answer a very simple question, which is, why is it that everybody across the entire internet seems so freaking hyped for World of Warcraft Classic? Because on the surface, this appears to just be a 15-year-old game with absolutely no changes, and yet it seems like it's actually breaking numbers all across the internet. We see people doing fan art of the starting screen just because they're excited to see it again. We see things like record-breaking numbers from streamers who are playing in the beta, which unfortunately I'm not part of, and even things like content creators doing literal countdowns to the second this is going to release. And why is it? It's because, in my opinion, World of Warcraft Classic symbolizes a very different era of gaming. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and in case you didn't know this, long ago I was a very big person who was into WoW Vanilla. I played it shortly after launch. I managed to be one of the first level 60 warlocks on my server. I did a bunch of world firsts, including getting super high rank. I managed to get all the way up to warlord in the PvP system, and all of this sort of just cemented my love for what, in my opinion, is a totally different style of MMORPG. It's very difficult to deny the fact that, as time's gone on, every sort of video game has gotten a lot easier. In the modern sense, we have tons of checkpoints, longer tutorials, and bosses with way less health, which has made it where, yes, we see more people buying games and more people beating them, but simultaneously, now people sort of idolize the classics. People sort of really fixate on the times of the past where things were just so incredibly difficult, where if you managed to beat something or get a cool weapon, you absolutely earned it. And in my opinion, the freaking original World of Warcraft was one of the most brutal online experiences. Every single aspect of this, from just trying to hit max level to just exploring the world without having any sort of mods to help you out, was actually a difficult task. You could get lost easily. You could be killed by almost any player you came across if you were on a player versus player server, or you could even just completely screw up your character if you didn't put the talent points in the right spots, and then you run out of money trying to respec yourself, which is basically redoing all your talent points and changing your specialization. You could basically lose the World of Warcraft if you didn't play it right. But instead of being a detriment, this created an even more diehard fan base. It's funny because recently they did a big stress test where they literally allowed thousands of players to all log in simultaneously and only play up to level 5. You might imagine that this would have a very small turnout, when in actuality, it was a huge event. People were having foot races all across the continents trying to see what all they could kill. The GMs, which are the actual game masters and developers, were showing up in the universe itself to spawn giant bosses and kill everybody. This game is a celebration of brutality. It is a game that actually glorifies, in my opinion, the very simplistic nature of just how fun it is to play. It revels in the actual spirit of adventure itself. Now, if you were somebody who wanted to try and play a very modern MMORPG like Elder Scrolls Online or even the modern version of WoW itself, what you'll notice is that graphically, they're very impressive. They have incredible special effects and really jaw-dropping cutscenes that are just so freaking sparkling and magnificent that they're really a sight to behold. But I do think that a lot of this stuff, it sort of starts to get neutralized in your mind. If everything is amazing, then nothing is amazing. Picture if every single woman you encountered was a 10 out of 10 gorgeous woman. Well, after a while, it all kind of blur together and you just wouldn't really have an interest in it. And I do think that a lot of video games are sort of having that, which is everybody is trying to be the most epic and ridiculous experience, and because of it, they are starting to sort of overlap, even if unintentionally. Whereas in World of Warcraft, I mean, look at this dude. He's kind of a goofy looking schlub, right? Well, this is actually one of the most geared warriors in the entire game right now. He's actually killed hundreds of people by himself using this huge axe. And that's funny because if you look at him, he's kind of just a random looking guy. He doesn't have anything sparkly and magnificent. None of his magic spells are going to cause cool lens flares like a J.J. Abrams movie. And yet, I would rather play this game than pretty much any other MMORPG I've ever seen. I personally am very excited for WoW Classic. I'm counting the days keys to it right now just because I really want to roll a new character and level up my warlock and maybe make a side character that's like a mage or a priest and really get a chance to explore this game once again and earn my own place within it. I do think that there's something that can definitely be said for the fact that it is a much slower game. A lot of stuff now is very, very fast-paced and cool. You can teleport all over the planet, get cool vehicles, or maybe have your friends literally yank you from one side of the globe to the other. A lot of online games are so focused on accessibility and beatability that they sort of forget that part of the appeal can be things that are impossible, the challenge that is insurmountable. And some people may forget this, but when World of Warcraft originally launched, a huge majority of the content was so freaking hard, almost nobody completed it. There were a series of major dungeons like Molten Core, Blackwing Lair, Ahn'Qiraj, and things like Naxxramas. And after a while, the developers actually admitted that they ran the numbers and realized that less than 3% of the population was even able to handle any of these bosses, which they figured was a huge detriment. But funny enough, I think that the community itself respected that. There needs to be a little bit of like envy and drive. People want to earn things. People want to really see that cool geared character in town and go, man, someday I'm going to grow up and be that guy. Because as goofy as it is, that is part of the spirit of a very good game. I also think that something that's really, really interesting about WoW Classic that I think is going to make it have a huge lifespan is the sense of community to it. You cannot create instantaneous groups. A lot of things now have matchmaking. Even things like The Division 2 have managed to invent a series of systems where just by opening a map and pressing a single button, you can drop into a group and start exploring the landscape and really just start raiding dungeons. It's so quick and so easy that it's great for the busy person, but there's a separate demographic that I feel like kind of have been forgotten about, which is the people who want to live in this world. They want to be part of it. They want to actually get as part of their server, make friends, and really exist in a guild and as part of this really digital world. World of Warcraft Classic is really looking to bring that spirit back. There will not be a way to instantaneously transport to dungeons or just randomly go to any sort of spot on the map. You need to drive there or run there or get your mount there. And so because of this, it makes it where traveling physically with your teammates to a dungeon and having to communicate directly to each other is going to make everything be much more serious. And these dungeons are a much more difficult task than any of the modern content. Right now, I would freaking cut off my pinky just to get a chance to run Scarlet Monastery with my character if I was in the beta. That stuff is so exciting to me because, yes, it's just difficult. It's so freaking hard that every little mistake can have a chance to completely wipe your party. But I miss that. So many people are excited for this game just because they want the challenge, but they also just want to see this world again. The original lore of this universe was just so simplified. There was the Horde, there were the Alliance. This was a group that had like Ironforge and these great freaking pinnacles of humanity, and the orcs and everybody that I loved over on the Horde side, undead zombies, trolls, everybody just trying to scrape together their own little existence. It was a conflict that made sense. The war in Warcraft was almost a main character in itself. When you entered different battlegrounds like Alterac Valley and the really huge freaking monumental things like Arathi Basin, it felt like you were playing a part in this actual battle in a really interesting way that just doesn't exist. The World of Warcraft Classic is perhaps going to be one of the biggest games of the entire year, and it's literally just an old port of an ancient game brought back. Why is that such a big success? Because right now, I think a lot of us miss the olden times. This is about more than nostalgia. Yes, there are the people out there who are part of the hashtag no changes movement who are obsessed with trying to preserve this game for what it was 15 years ago, but I think that separately from that, there's just a lot of people who miss when games were brutal, who miss having a chance for 40 players to team up and try and take down a giant magma giant and be punished for every single mistake. A lot of people want just a normal staff or a normal sword or a normal weapon in their hand and a chance to defend themselves against an impossible and yet very interesting universe. And that's why I think so many people are excited excited for it. This video is really just my way to explain my love for WoW Classic and why I totally plan on doing some videos on it in the future. Not a bunch, I'm not going to overwhelm your sub feed, but I am excited for it. I want to join a guild, I want to freaking raid, I want to make PvP groups and slay some dirty alliance. And it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's why I'm glad to see all the excitement for it. So much hype surrounding such a positive project is truly a beautiful thing to see. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I'm not sure what server I'm going to roll on yet, but if you are interested in World of Warcraft Classic and you're going to be playing it, be sure you're following me on Twitter, because whenever they actually come out with the game, I'm definitely going to tweet out my server and my name and everything. That way you guys can join me and play with me if you'd like. It's going to be a lot of fun. Peace. Blizzard, let me in the beta. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.